Hey, welcome back to Off the Hook Crochet with Nicole. Today we're actually going to be doing our August audit. This is where I go through and share with you what I made last month, what I bought last month, what I used up or gave away, so what I destashed last month, and just give you a little bit of the summary of what I have been up to in the crocheting world. So let's dive in because I know that's what you're here for. I'm going to go through what I purchased because I have a timeline here in mind of how I'm going to do this. So I did purchase a few items, and that's because August was the very end of our road trip. So I managed to get to a yarn shop in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And this yarn shop was in a mall. So it was absolutely like throwback. I'm talking 80s, Fast Times at Ridgemont High kind of thing.
Another summer at Perry's. I can't. I swear. Come on.
Boy, did it bring back some memories. But those malls, they're ghost towns. So I'm not sure what this particular yarn shop is going to be doing very long because I'm not sure the mall is going to be there very long. But they had some amazing things on clearance. And so I got two of these. The labels are covering them, but they are Barocco Pima 100 cotton, and they are absolutely so soft. I think they are for medium worsted weight. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with these, but they are so soft, and I just enjoy working with cotton quite a bit. So I thought I'd pick them up since they were 50% off, or maybe they were 40% off. The original price was $13.50, and they were discounted off of that. So I also got two in the red. They had more, and I was very, very tempted to buy all of them, but I was trying to be a little bit conservative because this wasn't what I was really there for. I just happened to be like, oh, clearance. Let's see what I can pick up. No idea. So those are going in the stash to figure out what I'm going to get. I also picked up this unique, and unfortunately I've already unwound it, and I left the label inside. This is my backyard, by the way. Isn't it lovely? um, I left the label inside. I know it's unique. I know it is DK weight, and it was also on clearance. And I did get it with a project in mind, but I did not like it for that project, so I frogged it, and now I have to figure out what I want to make with it. So that's a lovely one. And then I also picked up, this is the reason that I was there, because I love to find something that is inspired by the area that I'm in. And since I was in Tennessee, they had this very lovely Love My Tennessee that is inspired by the Tennessee sunsets. You'll see a bag that I bought, the yarn inspired by the Outer Banks sunsets. But this was the one that was the Tennessee sunset. So again, not sure what I'm going to do with it. I did have a project in mind that I was going to do with all of those that I bought on the road. And I just didn't like the way that that was turning out. So I scrapped that idea, and now I have a very lovely colorway that I'm going to find something else to do. And then the last thing that I purchased was this macrame cord. And this is, it's a 4mm. I think it's technically like a super bulky kind of thing. I don't know if you really can consider it a yarn purchase, but I did buy it, and it could be crocheted for something with a really big hook, but I bought it for a very specific project. So there was an intention behind this one that you'll see in just a moment. So those are the 7 things that I purchased to go back in my stash. Then what I used up sort of goes in line with what I made. So I'm going to kind of do these together. But the first thing that I did to destash was I actually donated somewhere around 12 to 15, I can't remember exactly how many it was, skeins of yarn to a family member who is just starting to learn how to crochet. And these were skeins that I can't see myself using anytime in the very near future. I've used some of them for other projects. I bought way too much of one of them, so I had a lot of extra. And I just couldn't figure out what I was going to do with them. And I thought that my family member who is just getting started, this would be a good way to kind of start her stash out and give her some different yarns to explore. So I did get rid of, we'll just call it 14 there. And then I used up 3 different yarns. So the first one that I used up was, yes, the Sugar and Cream. And this is the red, white, and blue. And I use this to make a new bucket hat. Now, the story behind this bucket hat, and I should have brought out the ugly one. One of the very, very first projects that I made was this bucket hat, not this specific one, but using this pattern, using a similar yarn that was kind of red, white, and blue. And it turned out horrible. But the reason that it turned out horrible was because I thought, you know what? I've been crocheting for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months.
That long?
Pattern without ever having made it myself. Yeah, not so much. Talk about a big fail. I wore it a few times. I never was in love with it. I never loved it. It like kind of like was too tight around my head and the brim wasn't long enough. So I just was not happy with it overall. And I decided I was going to make another one. And actually, using this skein because I thought that would be very, very lovely for a bucket hat. But this is not heavy enough. So it was way too drapey, way too loose. And it just didn't look right. So I frogged that and said, you know what? I need to really just go back to the basics and make exactly what it is that the pattern says. And then I can kind of figure out what I can modify and what I can't. And this is the result. So I used the red, white, and blue, and I love this. This is adorable. Let me swap here real quick. Messy hair moment. This is adorable, but I can't see you. So it is definitely just a little bit too tall for me. It's just not practical because then I'm walking around like this and I already get a stiff neck. So I don't need an extra stiff neck from wearing a hat. So I don't know, this would be a great hat for my husband maybe. It is adorable, but I also figured out from making it what I can do to modify the pattern. So I pulled out my favorite yarn, the Lion Brand Rewind, and this is the color Current Situation. That's the colorway. And I decided to decrease the number of rows between where it turns to go down and before the crosses sort of start. And I think this came out perfect. This is exactly what I needed it to be. I love this hat. I think it's adorable. And I might be experimenting more with this pattern. So that being said, I used up 1 and probably a half skein for this hat. And then I used up 1 entire skein for this hat. So that is, I'm only going to count that as 2 skeins used up. So that's 14 plus the 2, so that's 16. And then I also used up, I'm going to save that one. I did a lot of little projects. So I made 3 of these jar openers. These just use a little bit of scrap yarn. I think it's less than 25 grams. So if you have some scrap cotton laying around, you can absolutely go out and buy one of the, this is made with the shelf liner, the rubberized kind of shelf liner. And these work great as gifts, especially if you make some like dishcloths to go with it or some hot pads to go with it, and you kind of do like a housewarming set or something like this. This is a really easy pattern. There's several on Etsy, and I'll actually, or not Etsy, there's several on Ravelry, so I will link to some of those in the notes below. Super quick, took me less than 30 minutes to work these up. And if you happen to be like a market person, you could sell these. I think these would be great. You could do them in different colors. Always use cotton, I would recommend, but there's a lot of different types of colors of cotton, and you could even get different color shelf liner. So I used what I had on hand, which is the tan, but you could also use white. I think it comes in black, and some other colors too. So have fun with that. I made 3 of these. I made one as a gift to give away to my mother-in-law's neighbor who let us park our RV in her parking lot, in her driveway. Um, and then I made one for our assistant that works for us and one for me. I also made, and this, I count this as using scrap yarn because I frogged something else to make this, so I didn't actually use a new skein, and I think I reported using that up on a previous, or maybe I didn't, because I don't think I did a report for last month. But this was supposed to be what's called a no pocket, no problem bag, and I started using this. It was not heavy enough. I needed a heavier weight, so I went ahead and frogged another item that I had to use this, which I still love this colorway. And I love the pattern on this. I don't know if you can see it. It uses a waistcoat pattern. But I don't know. I think the flap is what kind of, I don't, I don't love it, and I didn't finish it. And the idea here is that it's supposed to have these hooks so that it hooks to your belt loops, and then you can walk around without having to hold on to your purse. I love, love, love that concept. And actually, I have a couple of purses made that way, but I just don't love this flap. And I blame myself. I really think that this was just, I don't know. I don't think I did a good job of making this flat. Maybe I didn't count the stitches well enough. I didn't do something, but I and I've used this yarn a couple of times now. I don't even think I'm gonna frog it. I think I'm just gonna cut the hook out because I can reuse that, and cut the button out because I can reuse that, and then throw it away. I'm just not happy with it, and I don't think that I'll use it, even though I love the colors and I love the stitch. It feels crooked to me, and I'm a little OCD on that kind of thing. So, oof, that bothers me. Okay, so I didn't count that as using up because that was in last month's use up. Then I also started working on my holiday pumpkins, and these are, my plan is to make, so last year, and I'll show you a picture over here of the pumpkin placemats that I made for Thanksgiving. I made 18 of these things. It took me forever, but it was a great experience because I learned a lot about consistency in that process. And those are for our Thanksgiving holidays. And so I have a lot of that color yarn that I was using for those leftover. In fact, 3 of the skeins is what I donated to my family member. But this year I'm going to take some of the leftover and make these cute stuffed pumpkins in all kinds of different patterns. There's a million different pumpkin patterns out there, and you can make them in different sizes. You can combine the color yarn to make them bigger and smaller, or more mottled. You can do them in different patterns just to have an overall different sort of variety and collection. My idea is just to have a wide variety of different pumpkins. So this was the first one I made. This is just a really easy, it uses the back loop only, so you kind of get that ribbed effect. And then I found one that I absolutely love the pattern, and this uses a feather stitch. So this is one of the stitches that I had to learn this month, is this feather stitch. And I think that it has a very beautiful result, but I kind of need to work on this one just a little bit. It's sort of flat right there and mushed on the bottom. So I think it's a lovely, lovely, lovely little pattern. But this stitch, it's all kind of loose to me. So I am not, never having done this stitch, again, I don't blame the pattern. I blame the crocheter. I've got a little bit of work to make this one look nice. Now, the good thing is I can kind of stick this against a wall and you only see this front side and it looks just fine. But if you pair these together, sitting somewhere, it just makes a cute little setting of different types of pumpkins so that it doesn't all feel like it's totally matchy-matchy, but they all work together. So that's my idea. I'm going to make a whole bunch of those. And then, so that'll kind of work for me for, the end of September into October and November for Thanksgiving. And then I'll swap those out and I'm going to make a bunch of different types of Christmas trees and do the same thing, or not Christmas trees because they're not necessarily going to be decorated. Maybe some of them will be, but evergreen trees. And so I'll have just a different collection of all of these different types of crochet patterns for the evergreen trees and use those to decorate all over. That's my idea. Last up, I want to show you what I'm most proud of this month. And that is this, what I think is absolutely a gorgeous beach bag. I'm going to use it probably for projects. Maybe I'll use it as a purse, but I'm not really this kind of a purse type person. Whereas I think that I designed it and I made it for holding small working projects. This is the yarn that I purchased in the Outer Banks, and I purchased it. It was inspired by the Outer Banks sunset. Again, I had a project in mind for it. But I did not like the way that the pattern was coming out with that project. So I scrapped that idea. And in really thinking about what I wanted to use this for, I went through a lot of different thoughts and ideas. I tried a few, I frogged them. And what I settled on was the idea of this project bag in a bucket style, but I wanted it to be inspired by the beach. And I couldn't find a pattern that really did that for me. So what I decided to do was kind of make my own. I used a big twist cotton and I used the entire skein for this bottom. And this is the color Sahara, Sahara Splash actually. So that's one more yarn that I used up. And I did a single crochet up until I wanted to have a little bit of a sand dune kind of pattern. Because if you've ever been to the Outer Banks, it's not like a flat beach and then you get, a rocky cliff. It's very dune-like. And so I used a long wave stitch, which I've never done before, so I had to learn that one too. I used a long wave stitch to make that dune-like effect in here. And then I came up, these are all half double crochets. And then once I got up here, I did the half double crochet cross stitch, which is the same, what gives this pattern the decorative effect. But that allowed me to put in the rope, which is that yarn that I bought, so that I could have a drawstring on it and give it that. I wanted a drawstring that kind of looked like a rope that you might find on the beach. So that's why I purchased that, and that is the result. And I am so happy with this. I am so proud of it. There is a couple of things that I would do different if I had it to do over again. But for my first designed pattern, I think that this is absolutely gorgeous, and I am going to absolutely love using this. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so in summary, I bought 7 skeins of yarn. I used up 3 total skeins, like start to finish. I used a lot of partial skeins, so these were all leftover yarns, so I don't count those as being used up. I have some of this left up. I actually only used about 2/3 of the skein for this, so I have about 1/3 left of that. I gifted 14. So out that I consider using up 17 total, and I bought 7. So I am -10 in the grand scheme of August. So -10. I'm down 10. I've destashed 10. That's the way I want to say that. I made 9 projects total. Most of those were quick little, afternoon type workup things. Didn't take a lot of time. The hats, obviously, they took a little bit longer. They took about a week each. And then the bag took about a week as well. And then I have another project that I'm working on that I've frogged a few times, the orange blossom tank that, you've probably seen a little bit here. I've had to restart that a couple of times because I'm just not happy with the way it was turning out. So we are working on that. And then I have a lot of gnats that are flying around right here. So
I will squash you like a bug.
and then I learned 3 new stitches. So I'm really excited about that because I actually started to expand my stitch repertoire, which learning is something that I'm always looking to do. So I learned the feather stitch for this. I learned the long wave stitch for this. And on that no pocket, no problem, I learned how to do the waistcoat stitch. So those were all brand new stitches that I've never done before and learned how to do them. Now, the waistcoat stitch, I pretty much have that one figured out. The long wave stitch, that was pretty easy, so I don't think there's too much there to perfect, but I could always use a little bit. This one's going to take me a few more times to really get the hang of it and get it mastered. But I love the way it looks overall. So that's my August. I would love to hear from you. What did you learn this month? What did you destash this month? What did you make this month? Share with me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy these videos, make sure that you give it a like, subscribe, hit the bell to get those notifications, and we'll see you on Tuesday with another Crochet Tip Tuesday.